Hey guys, what's up? It's James Stewart. We're back here for the recap at round number 7 in Minneapolis. I almost said Minneapolis. I don't know why, but we're back. Another first round of the East Coast, so that means we got 250 East Coast boys. The West Coast swing is done. A lot of exciting things. I told you it was going to be a good race, and it turned out to be even better than I thought. So let's get into it. Round number 7, Monster Energy Supercross, Minneapolis. Let's get it. Now we're starting to get into the football stadiums, and like I said before, like it's kind of a whole different transition. Like you get to the baseball stadium, which most of them have 90s, but Dirtworks did a good job this year, kind of having the track more, spread out, more flowy and stuff. And then you get into these football stadiums, and even though you would kind of think they would be bigger, a lot of the track isn't used, and they end up having a tighter feeling than normal, which is, to me, again, this year, I feel like the baseball stadiums were set up more as a kind of like I would like it, more flowy, more not necessarily 90s. And then you get on the football stadiums, again, they're more kind of switchbacks, like all the layouts are kind of the same. But this year, I never raced in Minneapolis, particularly at this stadium. And I thought the track looked good, but it looked also tight. And then it was really slippery. They was talking about the dirt being frozen, and that's some of the issues that you get on the East Coast when you have this, weather and stuff. And you have, if you notice when they have the monster jams, any races that they had the monster jam before, the track's always going to be super like slippery and hard packed. So this track was another one which would be in the favors of the KTMs and Huskies and the bikes that have more flex. So overall, I thought the track was good. Had some, unique rhythm sections, some things that I thought like would be, more jumps and stuff. They had a couple quads in there, but, overall the racing was racing, and let's get to it. Anyways, Cooper Webb back. Bike looked a lot better this weekend. They look like they're starting to figure out the main source of the issue. I feel like, you could tell with Cooper, just the way he was riding, he was in more of attack mode. And last year, I think he won this race, so he's coming in with a little bit of confidence. But I think the track set up well for him. All these football stadiums going to set up well for this guy. The KTM's turn really good usually, and the whoop section was one of the ones that he can jump. But even with that, like you can tell the rebound, just the way his body position was on the on his bike, he looked more relaxed. So it was good to see the champ back. And if Eli has a couple of these moments, which was, again, he got taken out by his teammate here, not on purpose. Obviously, it was a racing incident, but if he has a couple of these, you let Cooper smell a little bit of fire, like it's probably going to be rough for these boys, but it was good to see him back. The reason Eli's in this moment right here is because he got a bad start, and that's actually one of the first races in a while he's got a bad start, and I was interested to see what was going to happen to him. Ferrandis was out of control. He didn't know where he was going. Yeah, that looked a little suspect. I mean, I don't think he knew Eli was back there, but I mean, it didn't seem like he was rushing to double that triple. But nonetheless, I was interested to see what happened with Eli. Like this is where years past is the difference to me. Like even coming up through the pack, like he came, calmly, methodically, like he just slowly moved his way up. He didn't turn one mistake into 2 and 3. And that's the difference that I feel like with him. I think with Eli in the past, these things would frustrate him. And, he wouldn't say he would make another mistake. He would just end up staying there. And I thought like him coming back up, he got end up with a top 5, which was great. Big point salvage. And, at one point he was only going to lose, like 4 points. But, Chase he decided to fold the chair up. And then, but we'll get into that later. And Anderson ended up winning. But nonetheless, Eli did exactly what I thought he should have done. And the thing that I feel like the change that he's been, his personality, his riding, it just showed it to me, times 10, the way he came up to the pack. So it was a good ride by him. And again, scary for everybody else. Still got a lot of racing left, but I think the problem of the Eli sometimes going missing and hopefully getting in his head, that might be gone. So we'll see what happens on the next few races, but that was good. Again, back up front, Cooper Webb looked good this weekend. I think, again, I heard he shot a hostage over there, but nonetheless, I think his bike looked a lot better. He looked more confident on there, and he was in attack mode. and I feel like that only bodes well for him. So we'll see what happens to him over the next couple of weeks. But it was good to see him back up there, fighting for the win. Chase was obviously riding good. This track was really, it was technical, but it was a track where I think if you're really smooth on it, you can get in a nice rhythm. And with Chase, obviously I feel like when he gets out front, he's up front. He's able to ride his own lines. He's able to kind of, get in the flow. And he did that this week. He went around Cooper and he just got in the flow. And I was interested to see if Anderson would like catch up to him. But Jason said he was struggling. And I think the way Jason rides and, he likes to attack stuff, like last weekend in the whoop section, he was like, F it. Like, I'm just whatever. Alhambre, he says, I'm just going to do it to take whatever it takes to win. And, this particular track wasn't one of those tracks. It was really slippery. It was easy to make mistakes. And, overall, like I felt like the guys that was probably the most technical, really smooth on the bike, was the guys that was up front. Ken was up front for a while. Marvin rode really good. My brother obviously rode great. And, again, KTM, KTM Husqvarna, and then you had the talented guys with Ken and, Chase up there. So overall, it was, the track it was good. It was good for these guys. Still, I'm pumped on Ken this week. I know he's in a tough situation, even still, watching him ride, like he's not Ken Roczen. He's doing things and, that's not like him. This is the first time I really paid attention to his bike, and his bike looks a lot different than Chase. Ken really seems to be struggling on the rhythm sections. His clipping things, bike seems really rigid, fast in the rear end a lot, and it kind of bodes to me the way he's riding, kind of a nervous, afraid to go over the handlebars. That's kind of the way his bike looks. So, nonetheless, I felt like he recovered from last weekend and was at least up there trying to fight for it. So we'll see what happens with him. In the past, what you would see is when Cooper got out front, you always saw a guy that was like, it changed the way everybody else rode. Where now Cooper was riding Chase's race. And I think the reason for that is look at his finishes the last few races. Look at, the way the season's been going. Like he's still uncomfortable. And this point right here, when Chase gets around him after the finish line, like normally Cooper would have dive bombed him. Like there was no way Cooper would have let Chase go on the inside of him. But to me, that's a guy that's happy to be up front. I think that podium was really big for him. And, he's still not confident in, what's going on. I think if he has another couple of races like this, that pass would be night and day difference. Like he would fight. But I think right now, he's probably not sure of, what's going on with the motorcycle. He's just happy to be on the podium. I think everybody's been talking about his fitness and all this stuff. And, even though I know he thinks he's in shape and he believes he's in shape, all those naysayers and stuff like that ends up in your mind and stuff. So it makes you start second guessing yourself. And, I don't think it was a fitness problem because even Cooper at the end, like he was right there on Jason. I think it's just more of a confidence of a guy that's just trying to just baby steps, get back on the podium, just have a good finish. Don't want to throw anything away. And, it's crazy to think a two-time champion, Cooper Webb, that fight mentality, how he can end up in that position. And like I said before, we're all mental midgets. And like I've been there. I can be the fastest guy. You have a few races where you're having some weird finishes and all that stuff. Like it messes with you, and you're upstairs. And I think that was what you saw with Cooper. Had nothing to do with his wheel and like, being tired. Just more of a guy that podium is a lot bigger to him than you understand. And I think for him being able to finish that off with a second place, that's going to bowl really well for him. So we'll see. Yeah, now the way the bikes are working in the main event are kind of the same way it was working in the heat. So let's check the heat race out, and maybe you can kind of see my point of what I'm saying with the way Chase's bike was working and Malcolm's. They had a better shot on those guys in the heat race. It was more pointed out. So let's check the heat races out. I watched that, and you're like, what's wrong? Like he looked good, right? Bike looked good. He stayed back on it. And then there was a few things that he clipped. You can really see his suspension, especially in the main event, like that. Bingo. Like that on off, that. Though that's the part that I say with Ken, like when he clips things, his rear end seems really fast, and really kind of like violent, more than I've ever seen like with Ken and his bike setups. And you can tell with that on off, like he just gets there and he gets on and he's going off, and the rear end's obviously lifting up before the front end even comes off. So that's kind of what I see with Ken. Just the rear end seems really kind of violent on there. And then, as I was saying before, when you watch Eli, compared to like the KTM's and kind of a lot of these bikes, he just seems like when he gets into whoops, like he can come in a little sideways. He can come in, whatever way he wants. Like his rear, and like he's not afraid of what's gonna happen, and that's a good feeling to have. And you try to set up your bike to have not be perfect. You just set it up to know what's going on. Kind of like my theory in golf. Like if you hit it to the right, then you get on tee and you start adjusting for that. But if you hit it right and left, that's an issue. And for me, when I always raced, I always felt like I can deal with a lot of things, but I can't deal with having a rear end like endoing. Like I can't have my rear pushing me, because that to me caused, when you're trying to stop, the rear end's pushing. It's like having somebody on your back, like just pushing you along. Like that's an uncomfortable feeling that they'd be kind of hit from the back per se, right? So that's why I always had my front end stiff. And I tried to have where it was like, I knew my rear might go side to side, but it ain't going to go north and south. And to me, when I watch some of these riders, even with the KTMs, when they're jumping through the whoops and all that, they get the north and south, and that's an uncomfortable position. But Eli, as I say, like he gets on there. If it starts coming up, he just squats back. And that's just all the work that he put in from the off season and doing all that, because it's not only just the KTMs, it's even the Hondas. And even compared to Jason's bike, I think Eli looks better on that. So testament, again, of all the hard work. But those are the things that I see. If you see guys that's going, they kind of get that turtle shell, I like to say, where they're riding and their neck kind of comes up, everything's just tense. That's that whole like afraid of like what's going to happen from the back, not necessarily the front. And that's a very uncomfortable position to be in. And that's what I see with Ken. And I think it was a couple recaps ago when I said, doesn't it look like his handlebars are low? Like it looks like something's different than the past. Well, whatever's happening with that rear and the way he's riding, he literally has the turtle shell going on. And obviously having the turtle shell riding like this will make your front end feel low, your handlebars look low. And I think that's all coming from the rear end. So he's going to have to fix that pretty quickly, because otherwise he's going to have that feeling going on a lot. Now, heat race 2, my brother got on here and got it done. I was pumped for him. His second heat race win ever. And normally you got the champ. And, I think that was Barsha behind him. Ferrandis is in the heat race. I think Malcolm sensed what was going on, even with Cooper. Again, Malcolm just went on the inside, hit that triple, which was good, by the way. There was no really fight back from Cooper. And I think Cooper's steadily trying to build that confidence, and I think in the back of his mind, he knew how long this race was going to be, 25, 26 laps. And so sometimes you get in a pace and you try to just continue with that same pace throughout the main event. It could be one of two things. It could be if you don't believe you're in shape, then you try to pace yourself, or you can just feel like, look, that confidence thing. And I think it's more the latter, the confidence thing. And as I went back to and I said, like, Cooper's bike looked better this weekend, but to me, Malcolm's bike kind of looked the same. I felt like there was a bigger difference from watching Cooper's bike to Malcolm's. And there's a point in the heat race where Malcolm's trying to pass Vince Freeze through the whoops. We all know, the Stewarts, we know how to go through the whoops. Malcolm would have blew Vince's doors off normally, but you see he gets in here and he's not been able to move forward. Malcolm gets in that whoop section and there's no forward moving to him. It's that kind of the same theory as I said last weekend, where it was always looked like he's pulling up. And this part in the heat race where he tries to dive in underneath Vince, and normally in the past, Malcolm would blow his doors off. He would just get back. Vince would he'd be past before he got out into the woods. Well, Malcolm couldn't do that. He actually ended up losing time to Vince. And I think that's, again, that whole slow rebound, something going on with the front end. He's trying to pull up. He's not moving forward. And where I felt like with Cooper's bike, it looked better in the front than, in the races in past, but that's still a significant issue that the Huskies and the KTMs have, and I think that's a clear point right there with what you're seeing. If the front end was recovering, that means like the front end would come back up. What he's doing is his weight's forward, but okay. So we get back into this. Malcolm's weight is actually over the back on there. He's really like sprawled out over this, and still the front end's diving. Now look at Vince's. Vince ain't that. Vince is actually farther over the front than Malcolm. Look where Cooper's at. Cooper's even over the front more than Malcolm. Malcolm's is like trying to like pull that thing back, and he's getting so far back to where it's putting a lot of weight on his rear, which is starting to upset his rear because he doesn't rot like that. So if you start getting so far back to compensate in certain positions from the front being low, that obviously changes the whole rear end of the bike. That creates another issue. But with Malcolm, he's getting back because there's like, if you're on the front, he's going to just pick for it like through the whoops. He's going to end up doing this. And you can see him like he gets in there, he's back, front end dives, he's pulling back up, front end dives, he's pulling back up. And there was only like 8 whoops right there. So again, that's the part that I see. Then again, where your bike doesn't work well there, I think with this track, it lended itself to have opportunities where his bike did work well. And I think the more Malcolm was able to just kind of get in his own flow, kind of like what Cooper did, only made it better for him. Malcolm's crash where he went down after the triple, that was when I see that, that's a rider being shocked, right? Like he ends up, you're down before you even know it. And there's 2 different types of crash because Roxon had the same type of crash, but there was 2 different reasons for it. Like you have certain crashes where you land and the thing tucks, like where I feel like that's when you end up blowing like an ACL or something. Like you get down, you go to lean over, and the front end's gone before you even really do anything. And this is what Malcolm, he lands right here. Soon lands down. Like the front end hasn't even had a chance to come back up. So we can't even say, well, he had the oversteer where the front end's too stiff and it goes back. That front end's still down. And that's when I used to set my bike up, that was the type of crash I avoided because you can't save that. What you can save are the ones that somewhat Chase kind of had, where he comes out of the corner and it's pushing. Obviously, he didn't save it, but he was able, like there was at least a fighting chance. With Malcolm, the way he went down, there was no chance. He went down before he even knew it. And that's bad because that can happen anywhere. That can happen like anytime you're hitting the brakes going into corners. And again, when you look at Malcolm's crash and you look at the whoop section, pulling up on the front end, you look at some of these other, sections, if you pay attention, where they jump into it like that quad glance and it's a quick tuck. All that correlates to like back to the front end. And I don't mean to harp on this a lot, but I just think that issue right there translates around the whole racetrack. And so unfortunately for him, he was able to get up and still salvage a night, but that was definitely tough when you kind of know those things are there and they end up happening. So now the biggest difference between the East Coast and West Coast, it used to be more prudent back in my day, is when you got to the East Coast used to be really rutted and sticky. And I think there's only been a few rounds, probably in the last couple years, that you've actually went to East Coast track where it was like Indianapolis, where it's really sticky, where you can notice a big difference between dirt-wise when you go to the East Coast and West. But if you look at this track has some ruts in it, but I guarantee this track was slipperier than any West Coast race all year. And that's because, with the ground being frozen, and then sometimes when the tracks are wet, when you get back to the East and the dirt's really sticky, they put this lime and stuff in there. And I think that was a big subject back in the day, but they try to dry that dirt out so, the thing doesn't get super rutted and super sticky. The worst is having a track kind of like this, where if you look into transitions, there was a lot of ruts, but then the ruts got super hard, and then it was really hard and slippery going into it. So what happens is you get these ruts and your front end just grabs because they're so hard, and you just see these guys shooting from left to right. The whoop section got to a point to where, you can kind of jump through it. And even if you blitzed, if you were the type of guy that didn't mind blitzing in a rut, you can get through there and blitz through the whoops. But I didn't think the whoop section was super challenging this weekend. I felt like it was, just jumping in it was actually almost just as fast, not as fast, but close enough. And again, I think the riders that was going to struggle through the whoops, luckily this weekend only had like 8 of them where they were able to just get through it. But nonetheless, I thought the track was good. Another solid track by Dirtworks. I was actually surprised at how technical the track was compared to that. This is the first round for the East Coast, but even though it's the first round for those guys, it's round 7 for these guys. So they kept it the same. Overall, I thought the track was good, and we'll see what happens over the next couple of weekends. Being back in the football stadium, you got Daytona coming up, so that's a whole another nightmare in its own. But yeah, I thought the track was solid, and the racing was, interesting again as a fan. It's interesting when you look in deeper because the racing itself, nobody bust caps. Nobody was doing anything. Guys was moving over. You had ET just kind of methodically coming up through his way. It's almost like, Independence Day. You're like, one day you wake up drinking coffee, you look out the window, and there's an alien there. And that's kind of what happened to ET. So he got taken out by the French Brigade, and he just made his way up, and, he did a good job at it. So, with Eli, I actually believe like the part of why he's good this year is because I think he knows his bike is better than most of the guys around him. Because when you look at this, even with Plessinger and stuff, like, some guys that like when they're coming up to the back of the pack, like they're moving up in a way that there's force behind it. Like they're coming, and they're coming, and they know they're coming. Like they're gonna get around you. Where I feel like Eli, like, when I watch this, and I think it overall is good for him, and it's good for him long term through the championship, where he feels like he can get a bad start, go down, whatnot, and then just ride, real smooth, calculated, not taking any risk, and make his way up through the pack, and do it without putting a lot of effort into it, without having taken the chances. Where I would say in the past, where sometimes he would end up just being stuck there. And the more I watch this race, it's like I'm watching, a guy that believes in his program, his bike, and he just believes that he'll do what he just did to Ken, just go in the whoops, attack the whoops. If I ride the track, I'll get around these guys, compared to in the past where he felt like, look, like maybe my bike isn't the biggest or best or whatever it is. I'm going to have to beat these guys with speed instead of just beating these guys just with, consistency. And because when I watched him, when he's stuck behind Plessinger, like you wouldn't think that was the guy that's, won the last 2 out of 3 races. And a guy that's actually been in a position where he's leading the points, like a dominating force. It just looked like a guy that it got a bad start and just methodically moving his way up to the back of the pack. And again, I think, when I had these incidents and somebody like Ricky or myself, when we came up to the pack, dude, it was like move or be hit. I actually remember used to saying that, move or be hit, straight up. Like either you're going to die with me or I'm just going to kill myself, or you move. Like, let's not kill all of it. So just a different. And again, I think with the track and the times and the way his bike's set up, it just puts him in a position where he can be more consistent, not take those chances, and make his way up. One could be partly the track being slippery, so you really couldn't attack it. But 2, just his whole patience and all that. I think it was, just a belief in his whole program. Now with Chase, like, when there was a quad after you cross across the start, and they were like, it was a single table single. And when you watch him, if he was able to make that thing cleanly, like look perfect, but if he came up short, it was kind of violent, like he would clip it, back end would kick. It was super violent. And it goes back to what I was saying with Roxon's bike, even on the on-off in the heat race, the thing looks like it's pretty springy in the rear. And so when he would clip things, it would slam his front end down. And obviously with Chase, I think the more when you watch him, the laps that he was able to just kind of stand up, just flow around his track, not clip anything, are the laps that he pulled away from Anderson. But when he came up short on these things, it was pretty violent. And, clipping that, the quad going into that corner, it not only messed him up for that, it ended up messing him up in the corner, which ends up messing his whole momentum up for the on-off. And so you could see when he would make a mistake here, it would actually like continue going over the next like section, even couple corners. So when he was able to just kind of sit back and flow and get through that stuff, it was better. Where you see Anderson, like when he clipped that stuff, like he was just, it seemed like it soaked it up a lot better. And I think with Jason, he kind of gave up. Like, I wouldn't say gave up, but he conceded that Chase was going to win. And Chase was able to do the stuff a lot smoother and easier than Jason. Jason was actually trying to get to him, but you could just tell like he was fighting the track. He was fighting to try to catch Chase with speed, and he couldn't. So that's the worst, when you're like doing all that stuff and the guys up front of you just like riding around and getting it done. But he ends up getting a little burnt at the end of the night, so it paid off for him. All this stuff that was happening, we're 20 minutes and almost 19 minutes into it. And I think the only time I've ever been in Chase's situation is in 2006 Dallas. And thinking about it like later on that year at Vegas, I'm winning the race in Dallas. Ricky goes down. You guys remember that. That's when Ricky hit that boat. I think I might have got a free boat from those guys anyways. Like I blew past them through the whoops, and Ricky, just like JS, would be like, hell nah, I ain't letting that happen. Next lap, dude went in the boat. Almost took out all the camera guys. Took out almost Cole Beach, but Cole Beach wasn't there. It took out Mathis and all those guys. And that was a gnarly whoop section. Kind of a little whoop section like the previous week at Anaheim. Well, anyways, Jason gave up. He said, Chase is going to win this thing. Eli's in the back. I'm going to collect these checks, collect these points. Next thing you know, with Chase, he gets folded up like he worked at a laundromat. Dude, it was bad. Now, the crash to me was kind of the same crash as what happened last year at Houston. Kind of that loss to the front end and went off. But the difference between his crash and Malcolm's crash, Malcolm landed, he was down. Chase actually had somewhat of a chance of saving it. And like most people would be like, well, why didn't you back out of it, right? Like, he's pushing the front end, just hit the brakes. Well, you can't. It's like me in Daytona in 2011. Like, dude, that front end started coming up. What do you want me to do? Like, I gotta stay back and wish for the best. Anyways, I ended up getting folded up like I worked at a laundromat too. But yeah, Chase comes in this corner. He gets over this jump pretty well. Just starts losing the front end. And right there, like you would just think he would try to lock this thing up. And dude, that thing snatched him so tough. Dude, like the Olympics is over, bro. Like it's over. Like there ain't no flips. You don't get no gold medals for the flips and stuff. You ain't Simone Biles. And dude got laid out. Like he was laid out. He didn't know where the hell he was. And Jason's like, dude, like, I don't know. Did I shoot him? Like, what happened? Jason's like, man, like I won, but I didn't win. And I felt for him. Like it's a position that, hell, like I wish I was in a lot more. Like, dude got wadded up. I won. Yeah, maybe not the way I wanted to, but damn it, I won. I'm usually like Chase, like trying to get on the bike, can't get on it because I'm like, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Man, I've been in positions where like dude was knocked out standing up. Well, I don't think I've been in that position, but anyways, it looked like he was knocked out standing up where he's trying to get on the bike and he can't get his foot over. Well, damn, that does sound familiar. That sounds like Daytona 2011. Then I went and jumped that wall afterwards. Wasn't even there. It was like on autopilot. But anyways, Chase was trying to get up on his bike. He wasn't, there. Then he gets mad at the Dirtworks guys, or the Asterisk medics, because they're holding him back. Like he probably woke up and realized, like, I was winning last time. I was awake. What the hell y'all doing? Why won't y'all let me on the bike? And he was like, dude, what's up? They were like, no, bro, no, you don't want to do it. And he's like, from Illinois, you know how we do it, son? I don't know how you do it up there. But anyways, it looked like he wanted to fight those guys. He didn't have no visor on. He didn't care. He didn't know where he was. And then next thing you know, he came to realization that he just got up. You can fill in the blanks. But anyways, it didn't matter. You were close, but not close enough. You know what time it is, people. Jason Anderson came back. He was struggling. He couldn't find his 9. He couldn't figure out what was going on. But anyways, at the end of the day, he done figured out. Jason Anderson, he came with the neck burn, hit it, call.
Suntan, neck's on fire.
Ooh, that neck was on fire. And it probably was nice because I heard it was cold up there in Minneapolis. But Jason Anderson, you the man, you got the neck burn. He was like, dude. And that's all I got for you. That's it. But we're going to go to the next segment, your favorite time. I don't even know who the stews of the week. Stews, actually, I got one. So let's get into it. Stews of the week, stewed. Let's get it, Cole. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. You guys know what time it is. My favorite section. Maybe yours too, but I know I enjoyed it. A lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of riders enjoyed it. Sometimes they don't enjoy being on this list, but we're going to start off with the stew of the week. Like normally we do multiple, but this week was hard, baby. And I told you, I just don't give it out. I just don't give it up. Like you're going to have to marry this girl to give it up. Like that's just, it is what it is. So we're going to have to go with it. We're going to go with the first stew. It may be the only stew besides my brother out there. I mean, that's just kind of naturally. He ends up a stew. Bussin' Cat. Hambre. Jason Anderson. Cole, just hit it for me, please.
Suntan. Neck's on fire.
Neck was on fire. Actually, I heard a little rumor up there. There was some fire going on, putting people up in the ER up there. Maybe it was because El Hambre was so hot up in there. The pyrotechnic was so hot in that frozen tundra up in Minneapolis. Anyways, Jason Anderson, you the first stew. You the only stew. And I just felt like watching the race. Now, that's not a knock. Everybody did their job. I mean, you guys did good. Like Cooper, he showed up. My brother showed up. Everybody showed up. We had 22 of y'all on the gate. But only one of y'all came away with a neck burn. And I just feel like no matter what, whether it's handed to you, you got it in the Christmas present, it was FedEx, UPS, or whatever, or it fell and you picked it up off the street, or somebody got folded up like they were in the laundry, whatever. You picked it up and you got the neck burn, so that means you get the stew. Jason Anderson, congratulations. You the only stew of the week. Good job. Now this list, sometimes you like being on it, sometimes you don't. You know where I'm going with this one? You could be stewed for a lot of different reasons. You can be stewed because somebody just cleaned you out, like Chad Reed in 2011, Atlanta. I ain't saying nothing. Or you could be stewed because you just got folded up. You were winning the race and you just went down, woke up like, damn, where am I at? Am I in Illinois or am I in Minneapolis? I don't know. What's this dude telling me? Hey, you okay? You okay? What you doing at me? So we know we're going to go stewed. Man. Michael Jordan, 23, Sexton wasn't looking so sexy on that. Dude, he got laid out, man. It happens to us all. I mean, it happens to the best of us. But you was in a position, well, although you stewed, you should be feeling good because you were winning the race. You were winning. You were gone. You had all these dudes saying, you know what? It's his night. It is. But then you say, you know what? Nah, I'm just going to lay down here and wake up somewhere else. Well, that's what happened. So, Chase, I know you're going to be stewed. I was stewed for you. Some of these other guys, they wasn't because they were like, damn, we got a break. But anyways, hopefully you're okay. And I know you stewed, but you're okay, right? We're okay. Should we give him some ice, whatever it is? But anyways, Chase Sexton, I know you stewed, but damn it, you end up on the stewed list. That's what it is. So only one stew, Jason Anderson. The other stew, Chase Sexton. Cole, it's getting tough, man. But hey, wait, we might have a sneaky stew. There's this guy on YouTube. He says, hey, Jay, he sends the video. Like I told you, send those videos. Send the videos. Send the questions. Send the videos. And he was like, hey, man, can you help me out with my form? Well, we're going to have to get into that because dude gets both. He's going to get a stewed and stew for what he did. Let's get into it, Cole. So as I was saying, this guy, he sent in a video, the only one, but it was worth it. There was questions for days. And maybe there was a couple other videos, but this one in particular, Kent Baumgartner. I don't know if he's related to the guy that plays baseball, the Cy Young guy, whatever. Anyways, but he goes, first off, thank you for reviewing my email. Well, you can thank Cole for that. That's what he does. But anyways, he's like, I'm a 47-year-old at the local arena cross. I just started riding my 20-year-old son. That's your first problem right there. Don't be getting out with these millennials. That's why I don't ride. Right there, I go to these local tracks, they be trying to rough up on James. Like, look, man, James is dad now. It ain't Bubba Scrub. Like, man, do the Bubba Scrub, do all this stuff. See, that's what happens when you try to get in these young kids. So that was your first mistake. And he was like, look, my first attempt was to go double, whatever it was. First double went great. That's how it usually is. First girlfriend, first date goes good. The second one is when you marry her. That's when you really find out. So he goes, the first one goes good. Now the second one, as we watch, this dude, he does a little OJ. And I don't mean OJ Simpson. I mean over jump. He sent it off that, trying to probably follow the 21-year-old over this thing. Dude, you got to give this guy a stew, because look how he just continues. Like, he hits that bottom like boom. Like, I mean, it was like, ugh. Sparks came out of his bike. But you know what he did? He kept rolling. He said, that ain't gonna bother me. He just kept rolling. Like nothing even happened. That to me is a stew. That dude's a stud. 47-year-old over jumping out like OJ. Like that, just bam, on there. Now, should we break that down? Because he might be broken anyway. He might be all like broken out. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Because the dude, he's a stew. And he should be stewed, because I'm highlighting it. And I'm highlighting his overjump right there. He might be stewed, but then I think you'll realize he was a stew. Anyways, Kent Baumgartner or whatever your last name, thank you for the video. You the man on there. Just back off the gas. First one, 21-year-old, half your age. Don't worry about them, because they do it. As you get older, things start sagging. They start sagging. And when they sag, things get kind of caught up in some odd position. Let's slow it down, Cole. Let's slow it down. Look at him. There was no form with this. There was no form. He just, when he went off that jump, he said, Lord, it's going to happen. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm not even going to try to gas it. I'm not even going to try to maneuver. I accepted my faith. My faith is going to be, I'm going to overjump this thing. But you know what happens after that? He goes, boom, sparks, faces on the front number plate. He didn't know what happened. But he kept rolling. He just kept rolling. And that's what happened. Jason Anderson, that's why he get a stew. He saw Chase Sexton down there doing donuts. Like, whoa, he jumped over him. He said, hey, what up? And just kept rolling. Cross the checker flag like, yeah, I got my neck burnt. I don't even know what happened, but it just happened. Kent, you a stew, bro. I know we went in long in this thing, but I had to, bro. I had to highlight what you just did. You did it. And you're going to do it again. Just slow down next time. Brace yourself. And don't follow them 21-year-olds. I know you like riding with your son, but just don't do it. The first double, keep it up like the first one. The second one, just back off the gas a little bit. And next time, prepare yourself. Give in, prepare yourself. Anyways, Kent, you a stew. Yeah. You know what? Now I'm watching Kent. Like, we're going to break down his form just a little bit, because I know I said I wasn't, but I'm going to do it anyway. But you notice with Kent, like, as he takes off, his body position never changes from when he takes off and land. Like, there was no, like, his faith, he already committed to whatever is going to happen. He doesn't move, people. He looks like those mannequins in the store that you see, like I don't know if it's either like he's done that before, or he looked like a deer in the headlights. Anyways, Kent, just relax, baby. Like, you gotta have to kind of move, like, brace yourself. Like, as they tell when the airplane's crazy, brace. You don't do that, bro. You don't move. And that's why you all up on the fender. And the funny part is, your body position that was in the air is the same body position when you land and you end up on the front, just strapped. So, Kent, form wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. But it was good enough to end up on this show. So something's good. You did something right. Stew again. Anyways, people, that's it. Round number 7 from Minneapolis. Now, next week, we were actually going to break down the Europeans here. I was going to go worldwide. We don't call this Bubba's World for nothing. But they said it was windy over there. It's always either raining, windy, something over there happened in England. But anyways, we'll see you from Matterley Basin. I think we racing in Arlington next week, right?
Yep.
Arlington. So I'm going to break it down. Send me more videos like Kent did, and you're going to possibly end up as Stews, whatever it is. You can just end up on the show or not. Anyways, we're going to enjoy it. So I'll see you guys next week. That was the recap from round number 7. Cole, hit it. You on it this time, right?
Suntan, next on fire.
What are we supposed to hit?
I don't know. Just hit something, damn it. Yeah. All right. What?
I'm coming home.